Michael, it's nice to meet you.
Thanks for being here, for your interest.
Can you tell me how this character has evolved over time for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Her history, it goes way back with me because she's based on a single detective I've known for a long time. But I foolishly only used, her name's Mitzi Roberts. I only used Mitzi to help me with my Bosch books. You know, she did the work, and it wasn't about gender. It was more like help me get be as accurate as I can to this world in my Bosch books. And it was only after I'd known her for several years that I started exploring like what made her tick, what made her commit to doing this kind of work and this difficult work. And from that, Ballard was born. And I've kind of followed Mitzi Roberts with Ballard. So Ballard in the initial books was a midnight shift detective, and then eventually, as in Mitzi Roberts' real life, she was appointed to run the cold case unit. So I had Ballard do the same thing because it's like, it's not that I'm lazy, but it's like I have this access, so why not? And so that's a lot of the evolution of the character has been dictated by the real life evolution of Mitzi Roberts' career.
And Maggie Q is a great actress who's been in a lot of different things. Is there something in particular that you had seen her in before that made you feel like she was the right fit for this role?
Well, I've seen her, play an FBI agent in Designated Survivor, and I've seen her in other stuff, but it was really, we were in the process of thinking about who could be Ballard, talking to different people, and we had, I don't know how this works actually in Hollywood, but we heard that she might be interested in, that she was looking for a role. So when she came in, so I wasn't convinced to probably like 5 minutes into meeting her. And there was something about her personality that I knew we would want to capture for Ballard. And that was like this confidence and almost like a relentless desire to find the right thing to do next for her. But I could see like that's what Ballard has. Ballard has this kind of fierceness in what she does, and this happened when we cast Bosch. It's one of these things where you know it when you see it, and she wasn't the first person we talked to, but once we talked to her, we stopped talking to anybody else, and it became how do we get her to want to do this?
We obviously have a huge fan base with Bosch. Do you think that people should see this as sort of a continuation of that story, or is it supposed to feel like something really different?
Can I say both?
Yeah,
I mean, it is a continuation, or it's part of the same world. And Bosch and Ballard know each other in the books, and they know each other in the show. So there is that continuation element. But from the beginning, we did want something that you could watch and enjoy and get into, whether you'd ever read one of my books or ever saw any of the Bosch shows. We wanted it to stand on its own. I think it does. I mean, Bosch is our ambassador. He's going to hopefully bring some of the audience with him as he appears in some of the episodes. But it's, it's definitely a handing of the baton. And I think this is a, kind of a bigger and wider appealing show. And I think it stands on its own, and that's how it will be seen.
I think there's also a market for, the cold case angle of it, that people want to see justice meted out, especially in a world full of so many individuals who aren't necessarily justice-oriented.
Right. It will look like, oh my gosh, this is like a TV show that she puts together this ragtag group of people, but it's based on the real unit at LAPD. And so there's a lot of creative stuff that went into this, but at the same time, baseline, it's based on the reality. It's based on how it's really done at the LAPD, and there's some unique qualities to that.
Do you find that the readership and viewership for your work is composed a lot of people who are actually in law enforcement?
I think there's some there, but it's got to be very minor, And I always wonder about that. Like, if you did this all day long as your job, why would you want to read or watch this? But there are people that do that. Some of them is a personality thing. They want to watch or read to critique and say you don't got it, you don't have it right, that kind of thing. So when someone who's in law enforcement says, hey, that's the most accurate show I've seen, or that book is really accurate to what I've done, that's a great compliment. So we don't create the shows or the books for those people, but at the same time, they sure make you float if they like it.
I know there's also certain real life things that are obviously monotonous and wouldn't be quite as interesting to audiences to either read about or to watch on TV. What do you find to be the most challenging thing about adapting from real life to an engaged audience?
Yeah, I mean, we have this, number one on the list front of mind is let's be as accurate as possible. But we also know that being deadly accurate can be deadly boring. So it's a finessing thing. You gotta find the little moments that when they're on screen and people are watching, they're gonna like nod their head and say, "Oh, this feels like it's real life." And that's a art form, I think, to find those things. I think we capture a lot of them in the show, largely through the attitudes expressed by the actors, and they all have like a kind of a different position or different angle on how to solve these cold cases, and it all works out together. It's pretty cool.
You obviously have plenty of source material and real life inspiration. Do you have a roadmap for if the show is as popular as Bosch and Bosch Legacy, for how long you'd like to run and other storylines you'd like to cover?
Well, of course we want to keep running forever, but it's interesting Bosch was a long time coming, so by the time we started that show, I think there was almost 20 books. And it was like, hey, take whatever you need. And far less books with Ballard. I think there's 5. And we take stuff from 2 of them in the first season alone. So there's a little bit of, I'm going to keep writing about Ballard. But there's not as much. So I think as we go down the road, if we have success, which I think we will, based on the first season, there'll be more room for the writer's room to be creative and come up with new stuff.
When you're not writing or working on these shows, what do you like to watch?
I watch a lot of shows like this, but I would say the real escapism for me is to watch sci-fi, stuff like that. I really like science fiction and space, alien type stuff.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Michael. I wish you plenty of luck with this show and a long life for Ballard and everyone else.
That'd be cool. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.